presentation of Fox Sports.
We are Fox Sports. We are Ohio.
Beautiful day down here in Miami. Beaches have been packed all weekend, and the Reds and the Marlins close out play before the All-Star break 2016. And from a Reds perspective, they try to avoid being swept down here in Miami at Marlins Park. Final game of this three-game get-together, Reds and the Marlins, and it's all right here on Fox Sports Ohio. And hi, and a good Sunday afternoon, everyone. Along with Chris Welsh and Jim Day, I'm Jim Kelch, and welcome to Reds baseball. Well, when you look at the Reds lineup today, you see Brandon Phillips in there playing second base and batting sixth. And Chris, we weren't sure if he'd play today, much less yesterday after what happened to him on Friday.
Well, what happened to him on Friday, that he was hit by a pitch from Jose Fernandez that came up and in on him and got him right on the fifth metacarpal. That's the outside of the back of the hand. And he actually sustained a hairline fracture on that hit by pitch, but he didn't stay in the ballgame, but he ended up coming out and playing yesterday, and not only having one, but having two hits, a slicing line drive to right field, and then he got the bat hat out in the next at bat and got a base hit to left. So, you know, Brandon Phillips, broken hand and all, this guy is a gamer, and he's in there again today.
Well, he wants to show he can play on an everyday basis, and he is in there, as Chris said today, closing out this 11-game road trip for the Reds. Now let's turn to the pitching matchup for today's game. Cody Reed looking for his first major league win in this, his fifth big league start, and he'll try to get it against this Miami team that's playing pretty well.
Well, they are playing pretty well, and they can score runs on you in a hurry. Cody Reed's big problem this year has been the first inning and the first few pitches of each batter. He throws the first pitch ball a lot, and then he kind of panics and throws the ball down the middle of the plate, and that's when they whack it. So Cody Reed maybe relax a little bit, have a little better game plan here in the first inning. He certainly has a lot of arm, but there might be a little bit of internal pressure on him because Homer Bailey, not too far from coming back on the disabled list, he's looking for a spot in the rotation, and Cody Reed might just well be pitching for his major league life here in this last start before the All-Star break.
Well, one of the bats he'll face today is a very steady third baseman, Martin Prado.
Well, you know, the guy's very patient at the plate. He doesn't give away a lot of at-bats early in the count. He works you. He hits the ball all over the place. I've always liked Prado as an all-around good ball player. He can play a lot of different positions, and right now he is killing the Reds. 5 for 7, 3 doubles in this series, and he's hitting over 400 in the last 9 games. So always good to see who's hot. Martin Prado is the guy for the Marlins right now.
And that was a big ball that he hit to right field in yesterday's game. Now, on the mound for the Marlins is the right-hander Tom Koehler.
He's a big, tall right-hander from New York. Koehler's not overpowering. He's got a slider and a curveball, a couple of different speeds on that breaking ball. He's had problems throwing strikes this year, so maybe the Reds ought to be a little patient at the plate and make him bring it to him before they go up there hacking too much.
Final game of this three-game series here in Miami, the Reds and the Marlins. We'll step aside when we come back. Jim Day talks more about the RBI machines of the Reds, the All-Stars, Duvall and Bruce.
Fox Sports Ohio is brought to you by Chevy. Check out their award-winning lineup only at your Tri-State Chevy dealer. By Cincinnati USA Regional Tourism Network. Stay close to CincinnatiUSA.com. And by Skyline Chili. Feeling good? It's Skyline time. Final game before the All-Star break. I'm Jim Day, and it's been fun to watch the corner outfielders for the Cincinnati Reds. It's certainly been an RBI parade. We're talking about, of course, Jay Bruce and Adam Duvall. Jay Bruce, 62 RBIs this season, second most in his career prior to the All-Star break. He had 66 at the break back in 2013. He has been leading the Reds in RBIs, but right on his heels now is fellow All-Star Adam Duvall. He's been the surprise of baseball, certainly one of them. The big surprise on the Reds team, 61 runs driven in this season. He had 14 in his career entering the season. It's been that type of breakout season, which will culminate, at least the so-called first half, it'll culminate in an All-Star appearance in San Diego. It's been a while since corner outfielders have done this. Check out our IGS Bringing the Energy. Second pair of Reds outfielders with 60 or more RBIs before the All-Star break. Only in 1954, Gus Bell and Jim Greengrass had 60 or more before the break. So Bruce and Duvall flat out getting it done. Reds would like to get it done today. Avoid the sweep and win the final game before the break. It's the Reds and Marlins coming up. Jim Kelch and Chris Wells standing by with all the play-by-play action here on Fox Sports Ohio.
At 56 down, they close out what has been a 10-game, 11-day road trip, having lost 3 of 4 in Washington, taking 2 out of 3 against the Cubs at Wrigley Field, and so far losing the first 2 down here in Miami. Take a look at the lineup presented by Brian Price here on this Sunday, July the 10th. It'll be Cozart, Hamilton in the 2 spot again, and then Votto, Bruce, Duvall, and Phillips. Barnhart, the very hot-hitting Barnhart, batting 7th. Ivan DeJesus Jr. getting a start at third base, batting 8th. Cody Reed pitching and batting 9th for the Reds. This lineup will face the right-hander, 30-year-old Tom Kohler.
Tom Kohler's been around a little while. In fact, he's pitched 32 starts each of the last 2 seasons. So in that respect, he's been somewhat of a consistent innings eater for the Marlins, although they would like to see improved numbers. He's 1 game under 500 this year. He's 10 games under 500 on his career at 32 and 42. 30 years old, from Stony Brook, New York. He came up with the Marlins in their system. Not overpowering. He's got a four-seam fastball that he throws around 93 miles an hour, a changeup, a slider, occasional curveball, but mainly fastball, slider, changeup for Koehler.
They'd like to get him back to the way he was pitching for the most part for the month of May and the first half of June. Over a span of 9 starts, he had a 2.59 ERA. The last 3 for him, an ERA of upwards of 7, including his last time out when he allowed 7 hits in 5 innings in a game against the New York Mets, in which they lost that contest. So here he goes against Zach Cozart, the Reds shortstop, to lead things off. Hitless in this series at 0 for 8, 264 overall. A strike, and we are underway from Marlins Park here in Miami. Finale of this series and this trip. "14 home runs, 38 runs batted in for Cozart so far this year. He is bearing down on his career best in terms of home runs. Oh, it's a line drive that's off the glove of Prado, and Cozart is going to reach, and a good start for the Reds here on this Sunday afternoon. I mean, that one almost took the glove right off of Prado's hand down there at third.
Well, we talk about Zach Cozart being a good fastball hitter, but he's a pretty good breaking ball hitter when you hang a slider up around the letters. That's where that ball was, and he punished it right off the glove of Prado, who was lucky to be able to knock that ball down. That's quick reaction time.
That's a hit for Zach Cozart. So as I mentioned, he had been hitless in this series thus far. He is on with an infield single to get this game going. Batter now is Billy Hamilton. Way in at third is Prado, as this ball shot toward the hole, and a diving stop by Echeverria. Wow, 2 hard hit balls to start this game. One goes the Reds' way, that one goes the Marlins' way.
Well, Tom Koehler said, hey, I gave Martin Prado a chance to catch a line drive. He couldn't do it. Maybe my shortstop can do it. And there's Echeverria right in the way of that line drive. That's another nice play, both by Marlins' left side of the infield.
I mean, to tell you, he needed every inch of that stretch to get to that ball.
He made a nice grab yesterday on a high line drive that he went up there, timed perfectly. Very athletic play.
So this pretty good defensive team, the Marlins, show a little bit of that early. Now the batter is Votto.
Meanwhile, if you're Tom Koehler, you're thinking, well, maybe my stuff's not as good as I thought it was down in the bullpen.
Votto starts the day at 254, 14 home runs. He's driven in 42. Reached base twice yesterday, a walk in the first, a single in the 8th. And play him straight away in the outfield. And not much of a shift really at all, even with a runner on the infield. In terms of the road trip, it's been pretty good for Joey Votto. Take a look at this ballpark. Marlins Park here in Miami. Ball and a strike now to Votto. On the trip, he has 9 hits and 25 at bats with a home run. Home run came back in Washington. Ben May behind the plate calling the balls and strikes, and now Votto in the hole, 1 ball, 2 strikes. Despite a good effort against the Reds 2 years ago down here in Miami on the 31st of July, a game in which Koehler allowed 2 unearned runs in 7 innings worth of work in a 3-1 loss to the Reds. Not many of these Reds were in the lineup that day. Appeal to third is denied, and now it's 2 balls, 2 strikes. Bruce has but 1 career at bat against Koehler. Votto with 1, Phillips with 1. Cozart the most with 4. Full count now to Votto. Second year in a row that the Reds have closed things out before the All-Star break down here in Miami, as we see one of the All-Stars, Bruce, waiting on deck. Played a 4-game series down here last year, going 1-3, closing out the first half. This Marlins team at 5 games over 500, trying to get to 6 over, which would equal their best record so far this year. They start the day in 3rd place in the National League East. Right now 6 behind Washington, but only 1 game behind the 2nd place New York Mets, who are really reeling due to injuries. They've gained 2 games in 2 days on the Mets. Sit just 1 behind them in the standings. Runner going as Votto fouls that ball away.
Kohler would like to get that ball right in under Joey Votto's elbows. So that's a very difficult place for a right-handed pitcher to throw it.
And we'll see another 3-2 to Votto. One other note on the Marlins, they right now sit only 1 game behind the Mets, also in the wild card race. The Dodgers right now hold the #1 wild card spot. The Mets the #2 spot. This Marlins team just 1 behind them. That is ball 4, and so a little something cooking for the Reds here in the first. 1 out walk to Votto, and he joins Cozart on the bases. Take a look at the Marlins defensive alignment, brought to you by your Ford dealers. Yelich, Ozuna, and Stanton across the outfield. Prado and Echeverria on the left side. Miguel Rojas getting the start at second base today. Chris Johnson at first. JT Realmuto does the catching for Tom Kohler. For Votto, walk number 61. Let's see if Bruce and Duvall, the 2 big RBI men that we have been talking about, both with 60+ going into today's game, both All-Stars, put the Reds out in front early. Jim talked about 66 RBIs back in 2013, the most Jay has ever had in a season at the break. He's going to get one here as Cozart comes home to score on a solid single into center by Jay Bruce, and the Reds have taken the early 1-0 lead. RBI 63 for the Reds right fielder.
Just a nice calm swing by Jay Bruce right here. He gets a fastball on an 0-1 count, and it pretty much cuts the center of the plate. Just about perfect for Bruce to lay a line drive out there to dead center field.
His second hit of the series. Sorry,
you're going to get your pitches to hit against Kohler. He's walked a lot of batters this year. In fact, his walks per 9 inning are up a whole 1 batter per 9 inning from last year to this year, something you don't normally see as a pitcher gets older and more experienced. So evidently he's got some things wrong mechanically with his delivery, and it's costing him his command of his fastball.
Let's see if Adam Duvall now can add to the Reds' early 1-0 advantage. Duvall, a home run in the series. It came yesterday in the 2nd inning. 23 home runs. That's tied for 2nd in the league. 61 runs batted in. Couple of hits, 8 at bats in the series. Against right-handers, you can see what he has done, the most in the National League with his 19 home runs. That hit by Bruce, the 4th hit with a runner in scoring position for the Reds in this series. They've been good at that this year, not so good in this series. And now Duvall, is a plus 300 hitter in that breakdown, tries to get it done here. Infield single for Cozart started the game on a smash to third. Hamilton robbed of a hit on a line drive, and a nice play by Echeverria, the shortstop. Votto walked, Bruce RBI single, and Duvall now ahead 3 balls and 1 strike with Phillips on deck. Full count. Duvall stays alive.
And that's a good way to put it, because, you know, all you're doing if you're looking for a ball to really drive is to spoil the really good pitcher's pitches and wait for a mistake pitch. Bruce got a mistake pitch early on. Cozart got a mistake pitch on a 1-1 count, and maybe Duvall will get one here on a 3-2 count, because you know Kohler doesn't want to put him on base.
Hits it hard toward right field. Stanton going back will have a play up against the wall. And oh my, Votto did not tag with one man out on that ball, and he stays put at second base.
Now Votto must have read that ball as perhaps being able to fall in there, meaning maybe he thought it was going off against the wall. In fact, he's going to take another look at that ball as it's being replayed on the video scoreboard here at Marlins Park. But the idea of a runner at second base right here, if he thinks it's going to fall in, he ought to go halfway. That way he's definitely going to score. If he thinks it's going to be caught, get back to the bag and tag up and go to third. And he kind of got caught in no man's land right there.
Stanton was almost giving him the base. He came in, fired right to second to keep the runner Bruce at first. Pleasant surprise when he looked up and saw Votto standing at second. So 2 on and 2 out now for Phillips.
With 2 outs, it's not that big of a deal, because it's going to take a base hit probably to score you, although I think there are 8 ways to score from third that you can't score from second.
So Phillips, we featured him in our open. 2 hits yesterday, including a run batted in. His average now up to 259. 3 hits so far in this series. Another one that is over 300 with runners in scoring position this year. Phillips at 322. As a team, the Reds are at 273. That's good for third in the league. Trying to get it done here and add to a 1-0 first inning lead. Votto, the runner, out at second. Bruce over at first. His RBI single gave the Reds the early advantage. Phillips in the air to right, and this will end the inning. Reds settle for 1 in the top of the first. They leave a pair. Cody Reed to the mound with a 1-0 lead after 1/2. Bruce have jumped in front 1-0 here on this Sunday afternoon down in Miami, and now Cody Reed will go to the mound and face this lineup put on the field today by first-year manager of the Marlins, Don Mattingly. They'll have Real Muto, the catcher, leading it off, then Prado, then Yelich. Middle three include Stanton, Ozuna, and Johnson. Rojas, Echeverria, and Kohler round out the 9 on the field for the Marlins against the left-hander, 23-year-old Cody Reed.
Well, he just turned 23 on April the 15th, so he's a young 23, and Cody Reed really getting his licks, I guess, as he comes through the major leagues for the very first time. Plenty of arm, but he's just not been able to translate that arm into wins or even good ball games pitched so far. He's had flashes where he struck out a lot of batters in particular games, but he's been hit around a little bit, and they've worked on him to try to stay behind the baseball a little bit more than he has.
Hard hit to third, going down to a knee to get that ball is DeJesus, and JT Realmuto, back into the top 10 in the league in hitting, is out to start this game. Take a look at the Reds' defensive setup, brought to you by your Ford dealers. They line up with Duvall, Hamilton, and Bruce across the outfield. DeJesus gets us his 3rd start of the year at third base. Then it's Cozart, Phillips, and Votto. Reed and Tucker Barnhart make up the battery for the Reds. Interesting that Jim Day talked about in our pregame coverage about the veterans sitting down with Cody Reed and talking to him. One was Ross Ohlendorf, and the other in Chicago on the day that he wasn't playing was Jay Bruce.
Well, it's always good to get different perspectives, and I don't think that Cody Reed is at this point to the point where he's getting information overload. He's just probably trying to figure out himself how to simplify things. And what he and Mac Jenkins have worked on, really, and you only have 5 days to fix it from one start to the next in the major leagues, is, you know, just get his wrist a little bit to the point where his fingers are on top of the baseball rather than on the side of the baseball like they were right there, and that ball starts tailing up and away to right-handers. And if you stay behind that ball, you're going to have more action away from right-handers and cutting right into the plate. But the big thing for Reed, as we mentioned in the pregame, one was first inning problems, and then first pitch, second pitch, and third pitch. Once he gets deep into a count, he's fine, but they whack it pretty hard when he gets behind early.
Well, he walked Prado here with 1 out in the first inning. His walks this year, 8 in 20 innings at the big league level, 17 in 64 innings at AAA.
I'd much rather see Cody Reed missing down in the zone in the dirt, bouncing the ball off the plate, than up and away like that. Because the tendency when you start missing up and away and then you correct, you bring it down and in the dirt, and then you find the middle zone, and that's when you get pounded pretty good.
When you saw that graphic, opponents hitting .368 against him in the first inning and an ERA of over 20 in the first inning so far this year. He has not been able to hang a 0 in the first in any of his first 4 starts. He gets Christian Yelich here.
I think the other thing that Cody will eventually be able to do is just trust his stuff, trust his arm. He's got plenty of good stuff to pitch in the major leagues, but it's a matter of throwing the ball where you want to. So just aim it down in the zone and just stay at the knees. If you throw it over the middle of the plate at the knees, you're not going to get hit as hard as you do when you throw it waist high over the middle of the plate.
In the hole, into left field, hit by Yelich. That'll move Prado up. Well, the Marlins have the tying run now in scoring position. Go ahead, run aboard here in the bottom of the first.
I've always thought that left on left, those left-handed hitters become better high ball hitters, and that pitch up across the letters. Yelich does a nice job of fighting that ball and using the hole on the left side.
Yelich
Joey Votto saying, hey, that's a page out of my book right there. What are you doing there, Christian?
Well, he's done a good job at .275 against left-handers this year. He's at first, Prado down at second. Here's Giancarlo Stanton. 2 for 7 with a run batted in this series for Stanton. All these Marlins, of course, seeing Reed for the first time.
I don't think Stanton has swung at a first pitch he's seen yet in this series.
Now Reed gets ahead of the big home run hitter, 0-2.
Looking fastball, getting slider.
And he got him on 3 pitches. Nice job by Reed to set Stanton back to the dugout with his first strikeout and the second out of the inning.
You know, that ought to give Cody Reed a lot of confidence here, because he puts Stanton away, the most feared hitter in this lineup, on 3 pitches. Tight little sliders right there. Not a lot of break, a little bit of depth. See how the ball just sinks just a little bit right underneath the bat of Giancarlo Stanton, and a big run scoring opportunity for the Marlins now comes right down to Marcell Ozuna.
The All-Star and the starter in center field for the National League in the upcoming All-Star game stands in there with 2 on and 2 out. Ozuna with a very nice split against left-handers. 287 against righties. 370 with 8 home runs of the 17 he has hit against left-handed pitching. Hard to the shortstop. Cozart to Phillips. They get the force out, and for the first time in 5 starts, Reed puts up a 0 in the first. How about Marlins history, highest winning percentage prior to the All-Star break. This year is their second best ever. The best was their World Series championship year of 1997, their first World Series championship year, and only their 5th year in existence. 50 and 36. You see down there at 03, their second World Series title. They were only 3 over at the break. This year's team 46 and 41. Looking if they can get a win today to tie their high water mark of the year. Tucker Barnhart leads things off here in the top of the second. He has really been hitting the ball well. His average up to 270. 3 home runs, 18 runs batted in. He'll be retired this time on a hard ground ball to the right side, handled by Miguel Rojas.
Reds are making good contact so far from Kohler.
Well, the batter will be Ivan DeJesus Jr. Kohler 1-0, 3 appearances, 1 start against the Reds in his career. He gets DeJesus now at 223 with a homer. He's driven in a dozen. He had a big pinch hit double in the 7th inning yesterday. The Reds were down at the time 3-2. They sent Cabrera to third. The Reds had a big chance. That's the inning where Phillips had the hit. 2 batters later, Cabrera had the single. Phillips went from first to third. Close play. He was called safe. The Marlins challenged, and the call was overturned. DeJesus then had the double, second and third with 2 out. Cozart grounded out to end that rally. Reds did not score again and lost 4-2 yesterday. Second-year Red, Ivan DeJesus Jr. Talked about the Marlins and where they are finishing at the All-Star break, and we all know that this has been a down year, expected to be a down year for the Reds, has been at 32 and 56, and at 24 games under 500 right now. It's equals the worst record the Reds have had this season. You have to go all the way back to the 30s to find a Reds team that finished this far under 500 at the All-Star break. The worst was a 1931 team. They were 26 and 52 at the break, 26 games under. Even if the Reds lose today, they'd be 25 under. 1934 team was 24 and 48, 24 games under. It's been a long time since the Reds have had this kind of a first half. Jesus is called out on strikes. First strikeout for Tom Koehler, second out of the inning.
Koehler threw some pretty good breaking balls earlier in the count to DeJesus, who was able to foul a few off, and that one fooled him. He thought that was going to be a fastball staying in. I think it was a changeup that actually had a little cut action on it, and he got it in there for strike 3. You can see the margin of error for Tom Koehler is not all that much. He doesn't have a lot of action on his fastball. He's not overpowering with it. So he's got to really work the edges. Of course, the Marlins, we talked about it during this series, how they are in the market for starting pitching, as are a number of other ball clubs. There seems to be an overabundance of outfielders on the market and fewer starting pitchers available.
Reed taken care of on 3 pitches, 2 strikeouts in the inning for Koehler. We're in the middle of the second.
we sat in the dugout all 9 innings until I think he had a pinch hit walk or something like that, like in the 8th. So we talked for most of the game, sitting by him, and Ohlendorf comes up to me after one of my games, and just sits down me by my locker, and we talk. And that was just having those guys come up to me and know, like, hey, everyone struggles, and you just got to keep working at it. So that's, when they believe in me like that, because I know they do, and I'm just trying to get out there and compete, and try to get them wins just like I am.
And that's the soundbite that Jim Keltz was referring to earlier, in which Cody Reed, and we've seen a lot of guys that come up and struggle early, and they really just feel like they're on an island, and the veterans have done a good job of welcoming him with open arms and trying to pep talk him. And even Joey Votto, guys, has sat down with Cody Reed and trying to get him to shake off the first starts of his career.
Well, they all want to see him win, and it's all good for the team. If the pitchers do well, the hitters do well, that means more wins. That's better for everybody, and they know that Reed is one of the top prospects in the Reds organization, top pitching prospect, and they know he has struggled here early on. I think everybody to a man, we've heard you say it a number of times, Chris, that this guy has the stuff. It's just a matter of defining it, redefining it, and getting it to where it needs to go.
Well, the Major League Baseball history is littered with the very similar stories of young pitchers with high ceilings coming to the major leagues, getting their licks for a little while until they figure it out, and then become really good big league pitchers. And it's just a process that just about every pitcher has to go through. And usually the younger you are, and Reed just turned 23, the harder that lesson is.
Nice job on a hard breaking ball there to get Chris Johnson and the leadoff man going here in the second.
Well, the one adjustment that Mac Jenkins tried to make with Reed is to make sure you stay on top of your slider. Add a little depth to it. Make it go down a little bit. Because in previous starts, he would get so sidearm on that slider, his hand on the side of the baseball, that it would cut across the plate, but it would never change plane. And that's a lot easier for a hitter to put into play, especially with the sweet spot.
Well, here's Miguel Rojas making his first start of this series, and he's going to get himself an extra base hit. First pitch swinging into the right field corner. He'll pull up there with a one-out double. Rojas started the day at 248. He gets double number 6. That's the tying run in scoring position with one out.
The word on Reed is early count fastball, so be up there ready to swing the bat. I don't know if Rojas really wanted to take that ball to right field. He just may have been late on the swing, but he hits it solidly.
Second hit by the Marlins. Their first extra base hit means a runner in scoring position for Adeiny Hechavarria. Shortstop hitting .237. He shoots the first pitch he sees out into right. That's a hit. They're waving the runner around. Bruce's throw way offline. Reed backs it up. Down to second base goes Hechavarria. Lenny Harris had Rojas going all the way there.
I'm a little surprised too, because Jay Bruce has normally a pretty good arm, but he airmails this throw. And he tries to make a hero throw right there with a throw all the way on a fly to the plate, and that ball's got to be right on the money. The problem with it is that if you don't get the runner at the plate, what happens is that you end up letting that base runner, who's the hitter, go into second base, and that's exactly what Hechavarria does right there. Turns a single into a scoring position play.
He gets his 27th run batted in. Game tied at 1 here in the bottom of the second. Now the pitcher Kohler is up there. His career will tell you that he has not been much of a hitter. 2 for 27 this year. Career wise, .084. So both Rojas and Hechavarria went up their first pitch hacking. Both hit line drives. Both hit them the other way.
Reed has been pretty good so far about getting on top of the slider. What's not yet there is him getting on top of that fastball a little bit more. And all it means is putting your fingers on top of the baseball.
JT Realmuto, catcher, leadoff man, waits on deck. And Reed puts away his counterpart, Kohler, with a strikeout. Number 3 for Cody Reed. Now he tries to minimize the damage here in this second against JT Realmuto, the catcher. He's had an interesting series, hitless in 4 on Friday night after going 14 of 30 on their recent road trip. He came into the series 5th in the league in hitting, going 0 for 4, dropped out of the top 10 yesterday. 2 for 3 yesterday, back into the top 10 at number 5. A lot of shuffling in that bottom half of the top 10 in the league in hitting. Starts this game at 319. Rounded out to third to get the Marlins' first inning going. So even though he hasn't done it a ton, Realmuto is hitting in the number 1 spot in the order, 3rd straight day down here. Wow, that one off the shin guard. Barnhart to third, and now to the plate is Echeverria. That ball bounced all the way over to the opening, 3/4 of the way up the first base line. We're going to have to get a look at this to see if that was a cross-up like we saw yesterday or a mishandled pitch. Barnhart certainly goes to the mound.
Well, we see it twice on one road trip, a runner scoring from second base on either a wild pitch or a pass ball. I think that was just a miss by Barnhart.
I would tend to agree based on what we just saw in that replay.
That ball went into no man's land. Votto couldn't get there in time. Barnhart couldn't get there in time.
It ricocheted right off his right shin guard. There's another one that gets away. They did call that a pass ball. Echeverria all the way around from second to score on that. Shades of Billy Hamilton the other day at Wrigley. Close play, and Cozart gets Realmuto at first base to retire the side, but the Marlins get 2, and now the Marlins are taking a look at it here just to be sure.
Fastest catcher in the league, I can tell you that right now.
And they will not appeal. Take another look at it at first base. Inning comes to an end.
Another pass ball cost the Reds, and like it did yesterday, those battery mates, John Lamb and Ramon Cabrera, and Lamb took the blame after the game last night.
That was my fault. Going into the game, we knew our signs, and I happened to have a brain fart or whatever you want to call it, and try to just lock it back in there after that.
And here's how it happened. It was a total cross-up. The ball eludes Ramon Cabrera, and a run scores. Now, John Lamb took so much blame that, in fact, he insisted today that that call be changed from a pass ball to a wild pitch. You don't see it often. They changed it to a wild pitch because he said it was his fault, and now that run, which was unearned at the time, is now an earned run charged to John Lamb. So a little bit of the honor system going on with Mr. Lamb.
Yeah, that's pretty good right there by a starting pitcher. He knew that it was his fault, so his line goes from 3 runs 2 earned to 3 runs all earned. We don't know yet about today whether that was a cross up or not. It didn't appear to be, but we won't know for sure until afterwards. We do know the Marlins have taken a 2-1 lead.
Stand-up move by John Lamb, there's no doubt about it. I mean, you know, if you want to make things right, that's what you do. And I think he gets the respect of his fellow pitchers, players, and especially catchers when you come forward like that.
How does he go about that? He talks to Rob Butcher, the media relations director of the Reds, who takes it to the official score. And they attempt to get it done, which they did.
You know, interesting, though, because as big as that play was for that ball game last night, the inability of a Reds pitcher, John Lamb, to get that bunt down was equally as big. Boy, you want to win a game in the major leagues, you got to do all the little things. You just can't show up for 50% of the job or 75% of the job. You get runners across when you have to. You move them to third base. You play your position well. You hold runners close. All of those things are the maturing parts of a young pitcher as they come to the major leagues. If you don't learn them in the minor leagues, you get burnt with them here in the big leagues.
And Brian Price was irritated after the game about just some of the things that you're talking about, the little things that they didn't do to get over the top and get that win yesterday afternoon.
The difference between winning ball clubs and losing ball clubs sometimes not all that big. And you know, yesterday's game is a perfect example of that. You had John Lamb, who pitched one of the best games he's done all year long, and the Reds still end up on the losing side because of the little things. And I can see why Brian would be frustrated, because he's seen it over and over again.
Ozuna in center retires his counterpart Billy Hamilton, so 2 up 2 down here. That's 7 in a row now since the Bruce RBI single in the first, retired by Kohler. Batter now is Votto. Votto walked his first time, giving him 61 on the year. Again, third behind Bryce Harper of the Nationals, Paul Goldschmidt of the Diamondbacks. Votto led the big leagues in the month of June when he walked 24 times. Of course, he had a very good month of June at 319, 318 going into this game in the month of July. A long way back for Votto. 254 overall starting today. And even with nobody on, you see many teams shift this guy. The Marlins shift just a slight bit on the infield. Nobody in shallow right. Shortstop on the third base side of second.
This goes to show you how different teams interpret the exact same data in a different way.
Johnson hugging the line over there at first base. Votto goes the other way toward left. Deep but playable for Yelich. And 3 fly balls mean the Reds go in order here in the top of the third. Park, a night of their own. It's Baseball 101 for women. It comes up on July the 21st. You'll have a chance to meet Reds manager Brian Price and some of his coaches. It's a meal, it's drinks, it's a good time out at the ballpark. Baseball 101, a night of their own, coming up July 21st at Great American Ballpark. Martin Prado to get things started here in the bottom of the third. Walked his first time, the only walk given up by Reed thus far. Yelich to follow, then Stanton. Home third inning of a 2-1 game Marlins. Prado, in his second year as a member of the Marlins organization, spent his early developmental years with the Atlanta Braves, where he was an everyday player, primarily at second base. He really didn't start playing third base on a full-time basis till around 3 years ago as a member of the Diamondbacks. He strikes out here. He had a big day yesterday, 3 for 3. He is strikeout victim number 4 for Reed so far in this game.
Oh, just like yesterday's starting pitcher John Lamb, a lot of strikeouts early in this ball game from Cody Reed. Misses his spot there, but you know, when you've got electric stuff, and Reed is in that category, believe me, he's got a lightning fast fastball with action on it, a swing and miss slider, but it's all about being able to repeat your delivery enough to be able to put it in a zone you want it. I mean, when you look at Cody Reed and he tells you that he's left-handed, I mean, that's the kind of body that makes scouts salivate. A little bit lower than three-quarter arm angle, big wide shoulders. I mean, he's gone from a high school kid, a tall, skinny 165-pound kid, to 230 pounds, and that fastball has come along with that maturity. And I don't think that we've seen yet what he will be as a finished product.
Well, he falls behind the left-hander here, 3-1. There he is now, 6'5", 225. Played at Northwest Mississippi Community College before being drafted by the Royals back in 2013. And so far this year in the big leagues, he has been able to handle left-handed hitters fairly well. Yelich did have the base hit into left field his first time, but by and large, he's been able to handle lefties. They're going to get the out at first base, but barely. Votto bobbled the ball and then made a terrible flip to Reed, who had to dig it out of the dirt. But they do get Yelich for the second out.
Well, it looked like also Reed was a little bit late getting there. The bobble, no problem. You still got plenty of time, but Reed's got to keep going to the bag. I guess if Votto had thrown that ball up, he would have been on his way to the bag. He had to stop to make sure he caught it, and they're going to rule him probably safe at first base upon review, because you can see that foot of Yelich touched the bag before Cody Reed got there.
That is about as clear as it's going to get right there. They're going to overturn this.
Shouldn't take too long.
That's going to be a base hit for Christian Yelich.
You tell me if I'm wrong. Have we seen an improvement in the speed of these reviews here in the last couple of weeks?
My offhand would say no, but you maybe think there is?
I mean, it's anecdotal. I don't have anything to base it on statistically, but it just seems like they're rendering decisions quicker. Now, this was an easy one to see. We showed you the view. The good news on that ball is Votto gets down to block it.
Well, it'll be interesting to see if they give that a hit or an error, and they give a hit. That's a seems somewhat questionable right there.
I'm not getting involved in that anymore.
So Yelich is aboard with one out here in the third.
Review time 45 seconds. Not bad. Less than a New York minute.
Stanton a strikeout victim on 3 pitches his first time. And Yelich's ball is ruled as an infield single. Votto bobbled the ball. Reed may have been slow getting over there. Joey's throw was at his feet. He had to readjust to catch the ball. Now the Marlins look to add to a 2-1 lead. Three and one. There's ball 4. Second walk issued by Reed. Just looking at the stat sheet, Stanton really doesn't walk that much. Only his 38th walk of the year.
Yeah, you would think Stanton would walk more just for the fact that pitchers would want to pitch around him a little bit. But that shows you how aggressive he is on pitches that are outside the strike zone.
You know, this just pointed out that Giancarlo Stanton, there he is at first base. When he faces a lefty, no mask on the batting helmet. Only when he faces right-handed pitching.
Watch out, Lenny.
Loved that piece yesterday with Lenny describing the origin of the Cowboy, Jeff Brantley's nickname when they were teammates.
One of the funniest guys you'll ever have as a coach, a teammate, a friend, and a good man, good baseball man.
Lenny drafted by the Reds years ago. Cozart to Phillips. They get the force out at second. So Ozuna joins Yelich on the bases. 2 on with 2 out. He's drafted. Lenny Harris was by the Reds years ago. Played for the Reds on 2 different occasions. And is the all-time leader in Major League history in pinch hits. 212 pinch hits for Lenny Harris, an all-time Major League record. You saw him yesterday giving the big hug to Jeff Brantley when they saw each other down on the field.
Tucker thought he may have been able to field that ball while it stayed in fair territory there. There's only one part of the baseball field that does not have a fair foul line on it, and it's right there in the batter's box. It's from the edge of the plate to where the line begins right outside the batter's box. And in that area, the umpire uses kind of a judgment. He gets in line behind home plate and determines without the line whether it's fair or foul.
Johnson struck out his first time. Reed trying to put him away here, keep it at a 2-1 game. Reds take the lead in this game in the first. RBI single by Bruce. Give it away in the bottom of the second. Run producing single by Echeverria, and then a pass ball, and Echeverria scored from second base. Here Reed strikes out Chris Johnson for the second time today, and we are through 3. Don't miss UFC Fight Night when 2 top 10 bantamweights meet up in the octagon. Michael McDonald faces off against John Lineker. Plus, Tony Ferguson takes on a UFC newcomer, the undefeated Landon Veneta. Coverage on FS1 begins at 6 p.m. Eastern, or watch it live on Fox Sports Go. 3 complete here at Marlins Park in Miami. 2 runs, 4 hits, no errors Marlins. 1 run, 2 hits, no errors Reds. Back to work Tom Kohler. Jay Bruce, who had the run producing Reds hit back in the first, leads things off. Duvall and Phillips to follow. Jay's base hit gives him 63 runs batted in. That hit and RBI back in the first inning. Look at some of the years in which he has produced at the break. His all-star years of 11 and 12, fairly similar to what he has done this year. All-star year of 2011, his first, 21 homers, 57 RBIs at the break. Following year, his second straight RBI campaign, 18 and 56 in the power numbers, and right now 18 and 63 with still 2/3 of this game to go. Liked what he said the other day about taking Duvall under his wing and kind of getting him through all the paces of the things that go on at the All-Star game, because he said you get pulled a million different ways. You don't want to let anybody down, but you gotta kind of navigate your way through it all.
Well, there's so many reporters there. I mean, there are probably 2 or 3 from Cincinnati alone that are going to be there. And, you know, so everybody is under demand. Every player on the All-Star team, every trainer that shows up, the equipment manager, every coach. It's a mini Super Bowl week. How about
Jay
that
serves
little
one
bit
up
of hitting?
into center. Yeah, that's a nice piece of hitting there by Bruce, who's 2 for 2, and the tying run on to start the 4th. Jay's comment about the home run derby as he gets this base hit here was he hopes to be able to bring a towel and a Gatorade out to Adam Duvall maybe during one of his timeouts.
It's a high-paid water boy.
Amen to that. Speaking of, here is Adam Duvall, and he shoots one in the hole and out in the left, and this has been a very good start for the Reds here in the fourth. After 8 in a row retired by Kohler, single by Bruce, single by Duvall.
Kohler really can't blame himself for either of these base hits. This is just good hitting on the part of the Reds. That's a nice breaking ball down on the very first pitch he sees from Kohler, and Duvall just stays right with it and goes right down there to get it. Boy, that's kind of getting your stride, your foot down, but keeping your hands back. And Bruce did the same thing, hitting with the hands.
Here now is Phillips. Fly to right to end the first. Big chance here for the Reds. Down 2-1. Reds will scatter after this game. Some of the players, of course, not going back to Cincinnati afterwards. Trying to get home. Those from the Dominican and the like. Boy, they love being in Miami at the All-Star break.
Second year in a row, I think, that the Reds have been down here right before the break.
Everybody will reconvene on Thursday night in Cincinnati.
Well
to left
hit.
center field, and well hit by Phillips, and that could give the Reds the lead. Bruce will score. Duvall will score. Phillips with a 2-run double, and the Reds have taken a 3-2 lead here in the fourth. Phillips, who had the big RBI single yesterday, drives them in here with a 2-base hit in the fourth.
Now Brandon gets what looks like a changeup down and in, and boy, that is his spot. He takes a look at it as it goes over the head of the left fielder Yelich. There's no way he's getting it back. It one bounces off the wall, scores 2, and Brandon, despite having a hairline fracture in that left hand of his, is swinging the bat as well as he has in a while.
Well, let's see. He's 4 for 8 now with 3 runs batted in this series. Reds reclaim the advantage, still with nobody out. Here's Barnhart. Grounded out to the second baseman his first time. He really has been hitting the ball well this road trip for Tucker, as he gets another base hit into center in front of Ozuna. Phillips being waved around. Here comes the throw. Gonna be close. Phillips is out on the call. Reds will take a look. Very close play. Brandon going in head first. Ozuna's throw to Realmuto on the fly. We'll get a chance to look at it and see if he did or did not get that hand in there before the tag of Realmuto on this throw from Ozuna.
Remember, it was Brandon yesterday at third base. They had a review. He was initially called safe, then he was called out. This time called out at the plate. What a good throw by Ozuna.
I don't know. I think he was in there on that replay.
Yeah, evidently there is not enough video evidence that the Reds people are seeing.
So they will not challenge. The play goes 8-2. Phillips gunned down at the plate.
Maybe this is the one that Bo Thompson was looking at down in the Reds clubhouse area. He's on the road with the Reds, handling all the video production and review duties on this trip. Rob Coughlin at home with his newborn baby. We wish he and his wife the best of luck with that.
Very close play at home plate right there. Didn't go the way of the Reds, but they have 4 straight hits to start this fourth inning. And I'll make it 5. This looks like it's going to drop in for a base hit. Barnhart will stop at second base. The Reds had 2 hits in the first inning. 8 in a row had been retired by Kohler. Now he's given up the single to Bruce, the single to Duvall, the 2-run double to Phillips, single by Barnhart, now a single by DeJesus.
Wasn't it the center fielder Ozuna who threw Brandon Phillips out of third yesterday, and now he's throwing him out at the plate here today?
It was Ozuna.
Yeah, they keep testing his arm, and he keeps coming up on top.
Talked about the fact that Tom Kohler has had a struggle as of late. His last 3 starts, an ERA of over 7. Giving up 29 hits now over his last 17 in the 3rd innings. Juan Nieves, he the owner of the no-hitter, the only no-hitter I believe in Milwaukee Brewers history. Is the pitching coach down here? He went out to visit. Cody Reed now with an opportunity to move these runners along. First and second, 1 out, 2 runs in. Reds up 3-2. Cozart waiting in the wings. Corners are in, anticipating Reed squaring, and he does. He has 1 sacrifice bunt to his credit.
Now this is a little tricky one right here because you do have the force play at third. You have a catcher running at second base. So it's very important for Reed to just put that ball down hard down the third base line.
Oh, not very good out in front of the plate. Out at third, safe at first. And that is not where he wanted that ball, out in front of the plate. Realmuto was able to make the play. They get the force on Barnhart at third base.
Not bad form at all by Reed. He stays right in there, keeps his head close to the point of contact, just tops that ball into the dirt in front of the plate.
Good scoop over there at first by Chris Johnson. That ball could have skipped by him, and DeJesus could have come around and scored. 2 on, 2 out for Cozart. So Reed will go to the mound in the bottom of the 4th inning with a lead. Whether it's 3-2 or more, depending on what Cozart can do right here. He really has had an all-star year for a shortstop. Zach Cozart, 264 coming into this game, 14 homers, 38 runs batted in. We talked earlier about the fact that he's 1 off of his career best in home runs. He had 15 his rookie year in 2012. 63 RBIs the following year. 2013 is a career best, and he's on pace to surpass that.
I never get the feeling that he's trying to hit the ball out of the ballpark or even trying to hit the ball deep. He's just trying to make good solid contact, keeps his head still, and he's got plenty enough bat speed. That's a key right there, is laying off those pitches in that very bad year he had in 2014. More often than not, he was getting himself out by chasing pitches out of the zone.
Lowest by far in his career. He hit 221 2 years ago. Only a third of the season last year due to that right knee injury. Echeverria, they get the force out at second base on Reed, but a productive one for the Reds. They pick up 2 in the top of the 4th. Ohio is brought to you by your local Ford dealer, Ford, go further. And by Cincinnati Children's, ranking 3rd in the country on U.S. News Best Children's Hospitals. A lot of the folks will be on the road after this game from the Reds traveling party. A lot of them traveling to points hither and yon, going home for a 4-day break. Schedule starts up again Friday at home against the Milwaukee Brewers, and it's a nice long 9-game homestand for the Reds. It'll start with the Brewers in town for 3, then the Atlanta Braves for 3, and then after an off day, the Arizona Diamondbacks in for 3. And when you look at the schedule and the records of those teams that are coming in, a real opportunity for the Reds to put some wins together. Bottom of the 4th now. Reed works with a lead of 3-2. Bottom of the order for the Marlins. Miguel Rojas leads it off. Smash to third, and a good reaction by DeJesus, who was playing in. They get the leadoff man. We were talking about what is upcoming for the Reds in terms of after the break when they get home, and this is how the pitching rotation will line up. They change it around a little bit. DeSclafani goes first, and then Lamb, and then Straley. That's the matchup against the Brewers. Then Finnegan, and then Reed. And one thing that Brian Price wanted to do was break up all 3 lefties in a row. So DeSclafani gets the ball first. Then Lamb, the 2 that started the season late due to injury. Reed is at the back end. Finnegan, who hasn't missed a start, he's in the 4 spot.
Well, for a while there, the Reds were trying to find bodies to fill out that 5-man rotation. When Homer Bailey's back, they're going to be looking for ways to pare down that rotation to find a spot for Homer Bailey to fit in.
And there's going to be a point in time, you would think, that Robert Stevenson is going to come up from AAA Louisville. And as Jeff Groppe pointed out, a couple of days ago in a story, when you get to AAA, you're a phone call away from coming up, and Amir Garrett is down at Louisville right now. Jeff is the farm director of the Reds. Speaking of Garrett, he will be performing in the Futures game out in San Diego. That game starts at around 4 or so Eastern time. Second year in a row he's been in that game. Off the leg of Reed to Phillips. Phillips to Votto, and that'll go down as a 1-4-3 put out on a Adeiny Hechavarria. Fortuitous bounce for sure for the Reds.
This is one of those occasions where the Schimberger doesn't hurt as much. In fact, it got him off the back of the leg, it looked like, as he turned towards the third baseman after that. And it's a nice play by Brandon Phillips, throwing on the run.
Now the Marlins will employ a pinch hitter. Tomas Telis will hit for Tom Koehler. So Kohler's day finished after 4 innings. So he went 5 his last time out, 4 this time out. He came in with an ERA his last 3 starts of over 7. He'll give up 3 runs in 4 innings today.
Remember that the Marlins and the Reds are playing really with 2 different motivations. The Reds are trying to get some young players some playing time. They're bringing up players that they're trying to get big league maturity, and the Marlins are trying to scratch their way right back into the thick of things. And Don Mattingly has a bullpen that's going to be rested the entire week coming up, so everybody's available today. Why go with a starter deep if you feel like he's not able to hold the other team to zeros from here on out? I mean, this is as close to playing the last game of the year as you will see. And of course, the last game means something for the Marlins.
Kohler goes 4 innings, 3 runs, 7 hits. Don Mattingly gets him out of the games. Out of this game, sends Talise up there to pinch hit, who's 0 for 1. He made his season's debut here in the first game of the series on Friday. And he strikes out here, so Cody Reed, his first 1, 2, 3 inning of the game occurs in the bottom of the 4th.
Presented by authority of the Cincinnati Reds. It may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cincinnati Reds.
With MLB.TV Premium, you can watch every out-of-market game live in HD on over 400 supported devices. Includes a free subscription to @Bat Premium, the #1 app for live baseball. Blackout and other restrictions do apply. Visit MLB.TV for details. Glad you're with us on this Sunday afternoon, the final day prior to the All-Star break. Reds in front 3-2. Cody Reed now is an inning away from being eligible for his first big league victory. Important because in the starts that he has made, his 4 starts have gone 7, 5, 4, and 4. In terms of innings.
Now Mike Dunn is a new pitcher, the only left-hander in the bullpen of Don Mattingly, and that's a nice play.
Nice running, sliding grab by Christian Yelich out there in left field. So 1 pitch retires Billy Hamilton.
Playing Billy Hamilton a little bit shallow anyway. Even batting right-handed, but Yelich, who froze initially on that swing, comes in hard to make the catch.
So we see Mike Dunn for the first time in this series. 0-1 record, 3.86 ERA, and this is 15th appearance. '69th career appearance with the Marlins for Mike Dunn.
Well, he's now 31 years old. He started with the Marlins when he was 26. I don't mean that started games. He started pitching for the Marlins after he was a 33rd round draft pick for the Yankees. Had a cup of coffee with the Yankees, moved on to the Braves, and then from here on in 2011 going forward all Marlins.
Well, he went into this game tied with Braden Looper for the most appearances in Marlins history at 368. So this is the record setter here today. Also is the Marlins all-time leader in relief wins and holds. spent some time on the disabled list this year with a left forearm strain. Just activated on the 31st of May. Why his appearance numbers are down.
Well, when you have one reliever who's left-handed in the bullpen, you never really know where and when is the best time to use him. But in this particular at bat, we've got Votto and Bruce batting back-to-back. So Don Mattingly decided this is probably as good as any in a one-run game to bring his lefty in to try to neutralize both the Reds lefties.
You got Bruce on deck in a 3-2 game Reds. Votto 0 for 1 in this game with a walk. There's Jay. He has a pair of hits already today. And on a 3-2, Votto strikes out. Joey 1 for 9 now in this series. Second out of the inning. Well, as you enjoy this afternoon's game, we remind you to look forward later on. We'll bring you a Miller Time moment of the game brought to you by Miller Lite. In terms of this road trip, we mentioned the series. Votto 1 for 9 on the road trip. Votto is now 9 for 27, a .333 average. It hasn't happened for him down here in Miami. Jay trying to keep a perfect game going. He's 2 for 2. Started the day at 264. Right now at 269. Wouldn't he love to go into the All-Star break at 270 or higher? Of course, we've watched Jay play throughout his entire major league career. We've certainly enjoyed the bounce back 2016 season that he has had, and you have to figure with the trading deadline now 3 weeks away, we could very well be seeing the last of Jay Bruce's Reds career.
Well, we keep hearing that and we keep reading about that, but the reality that you also read and hear about is the fact that there is a plethora of and an overabundance of outfielders on the market that are available to be traded for, where most teams aren't looking for outfielders anyway. They're looking for pitching.
In the air for Yelich. He calls for it, and he has it. And the Reds go down in order against the lefty reliever Mike Dunn. Into the golf zone on Sunday nights. PGA Pro Jimmy Hanlon gives terrific tips to lower your handicap, plus news and notes from around the PGA Tour. Get inside the golf zone with Jimmy Hanlon, presented by American Eagle Mortgage and Varmint Guard, tonight at 8 on Fox Sports Ohio. 3-2 Reds, mid-5th. Here from Marlins Park. Big inning for the Reds and Cody Reed, trying to get him eligible to qualify for his first big league win. And he gets the top of the Marlins order. JT Realmuto, then Prado, then Yelich.
Back-to-back changeups to start the at-bat with Realmuto. That's interesting. That's the one pitch that's kind of been missing from a consistency standpoint for Cody Reed. He's not thrown it very much because he doesn't really have a lot of confidence in it yet.
Well, it's a pitch that Brian Price, Mac Jenkins, even before him, Mark Riggins had talked about. You have to have something that is a different speed than the other pitches. You've talked about it a lot.
Yeah. Got to upset the timing somehow.
Realmuto in this game is twice grounded out, once to third, once to short. Talk about Reed becoming eligible for the win. You look back at his major league debut in Houston on June the 18th. Cozart will backhand this and throw the catcher out for out number 1. His best start by far. He took the game into the bottom of the 7th. It was a 2-2 game, and he had made a quality start. Then he gives up the double to start the inning to Danny Wirth, and that 2-run homer to Evan Gattis. Houston took a 4-2 lead. They ended up going extra innings, and Houston won the game. But he left after that 7-inning, 4-run, 6-hit performance. But had it not been for that 2-run homer, he gets a quality start out of that opening appearance for him in the big leagues. Prado has walked and struck out today. Wondering about Reed's pitch count. He's sitting at 77. There you see it on the screen. So he's still in pretty good shape. That ball is just foul at first.
Doing a really good job in this at bat and keeping the ball on that low outside quadrant. He's done it with what looks like a changeup and then something between a changeup and a fastball in that last pitch at 93. So he's hit the good spot, but he's changed speeds in that spot. That's a step in the right direction.
Smash by the diving DeJesus, and down the line it goes for Prado. He's going to try to stretch this to a double, and he will, on a head-first slide just ahead of the tag of Brandon Phillips. Two-base hit for Martin Prado is the tying run now here in the bottom of the 5th.
Well, Prado gets a ball up and in. Reed makes a mistake with that slider, and he gets it up above the waist on the inner part of the plate, and he rips it right by DeJesus. Never had a chance. I'll tell you, Duvall makes a nice play on this ball. It looks like a double all the way, but he plants and throws. The throw is on the money. And that throw made it pretty close there at second base.
Clearly an underrated part of his game is outfield.
Especially for a guy who's just learning how to play outfield. There's some talk, of course, that he's played a lot more games in the infield in his career. I mean, if you go back to his college and amateur days as a third baseman or a first baseman, than he has ever done in the outfield.
Tying run at second base with one out. Martin Prado came into this game as the National League's top hitter against left-handed pitching with a .400 average. He's 1 for 2 today with a walk against the lefty Reed. Stanton waits on deck. That's going to allow the runner to move to third. That just went right off the glove of Barnhart.
Well, Reds catchers have just had a difficult time in this series. Now Reed's got a live arm, and that fastball has some life to it, but that's certainly catchable. It's got to be a pass ball, right?
Well, they've called it a wild pitch, and it's very lenient towards Tucker. Infield in now on a 3-2, and he got him on strikes. So they'll move back now with 2 men out. Nice job by Reed to put Yelich away right there.
Might be one of his best sliders of the day. Starts as a strike, ends up as a ball, and Yelich just can't hold back. Pitch number 6 just ends up just off the plate. Boy, that's about as perfect as you can dial it up there.
7 of them now for Cody Reed, who struck out 9 in his big league debut at Houston. Now he deals with Stanton with a runner at third, the tying run, and 2 men out.
He's had a steady diet of breaking balls.
Franchise leader in home runs. It's the 201st of his career, 20th of the year. The Marlins regain the advantage.
Yeah, it looked like it was a breaking ball, a slider that he got up in the zone right there, and man, oh man, it just hung right there for Mike Stanton. It's the same spot actually that he threw the ball to Martin Prado. Earlier in this same inning, Prado hit the double. Stanton stumbles for a home run. That's a shame.
Well, you take the lead back on the 2-run double by Phillips in the top of the 4th. The Marlins wrestle it away from you again here in the bottom of the 5th. 9th home run ball given up by Reed this year, but only the 2nd in the last couple of starts. Ozuna has twice grounded into a force play. So the Reds led, the Marlins led. The Reds regain the lead. The Marlins have done the same. Back and forth this one has gone in the bottom of the 5th. Josh Smith now throwing in the Reds bullpen. Reed closing in on 100. talked about on Friday, this Marlins team, the top batting average in the National League is a team at 274 coming into this series. No slouch lineup at all. Foul ball at third base. One out double by Prado. Wild pitch sent him to third. Yelich with the infield in struck out. Nice pitch by Reed to send him back to the dugout as Barry Bonds, baseball's all-time home run king, hitting coach of this Marlins club, looks on. A couple of pretty good careers right there. Don Mattingly and Barry Bonds.
Well, you're not kidding about that. For Mattingly, 14 years in the major league, 6-time All-Star, career 300 batter.
All with the Yankees.
Led the American League in hits 2 times, including in 1984, a batting average of .343. And of course, in '85, he followed that season up with an MVP year.
You know, unfortunately for him, he was with the Yankees during that long stretch of years where they just weren't very good. Ball to the head of Duvall. It short hops the wall. Headed for second base, Ozuna. He is in there with a tumbling slide and a double. 3 hard hit balls in this inning by the Marlins.
Well, again, you see the location of the pitch is up and around belt high, and every time you get it up around belt high, you're giving those opposing hitters a chance to level a swing on it, and Ozuna does it right there. Kind of a bounce slide right there. He thought his cleats were going to slide, and they stuck.
Ryan Price to the mound. That will spell the end of the afternoon for Cody Reed, and he will not be eligible for his first big league victory here this afternoon. New pitcher on for the Reds will be Josh Smith, and this is our Skyline Chili call to the bullpen. Summer events are back-to-back. The T-Mobile Home Run Derby on ESPN. That's on Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern. And the very next night on Tuesday is the 87th All-Star Game presented by MasterCard, July the 12th, and on Fox. Coverage begins Tuesday at 7:30 Eastern. So the Home Run Derby Monday, the All-Star Game Tuesday. Adam Duvall will be there in the Home Run Derby and the All-Star Game. Jay Bruce will be there in the All-Star Game. Cody Reed, his 5th big league start completed here in Miami. He gives way to Josh Smith, trying to put the finishing touches here on the bottom of the 5th. Reed 4 2/3. 4 runs so far, 7 hits, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts. Runner at second, Ozuna, is his responsibility. Josh Smith, he's a fellow Florida native, born in Margate, Florida, lives in Boca Raton, went to high school there at Grandview Prep. On to Lipscomb University in Nashville. Smith appearing for the first time in this series, 4th time on the trip. Worked an inning and 2/3 in that 10-4 loss to the Cubs on the 4th of July at Wrigley. A .450 ERA and appearance number 15. Gets a fly ball into right center, and Bruce is there to retire the side, but damage done on the 2-run homer by Giancarlo Stanton.
Appearance, he will go with Adam Duvall, who will make his first, and much like Votto did for him, he'll take Duvall under his wing.
Joey was like that with me in our first one because he had been before. Right. And you know, just having someone let you know like how kind of everything works, and you don't need to pull yourself in 100 million different directions. You know, I think that's important, and I look forward to him in the home run derby, and maybe I can make an appearance with a towel and a Gatorade for him here in one of the timeouts.
And here's how they'll bracket him up. Adam Duvall will go against hometown guy Will Myers, Todd Frazier, and Carlos Gonzalez on the other half of that bracket. So if Duvall and Frazier win their first round battles, they could meet in round 2. And Trumbo and Seager and Cano versus Giancarlo Stanton on the other side. So it should be interesting. Adam Duvall says he is ready for it, even though it is a different format than what he faced when he did home run derbies in the minor leagues.
Speaking of, here is Adam Duvall to get things started in the 6th inning. So we have a lot to look forward to tomorrow night at the home run derby out in San Diego. Those guys who are playing in this game, at least, cross-country trip from Miami to San Diego, and the derby tomorrow night. Frazier hit his 25th home run yesterday, trying to defend his title. Duvall in this game, a homer in 2 at-bats against a new pitcher for the Marlins. Nick Whitgren is into the game. First time we've seen him in this series. 25-year-old, born in California, but grew up in Lafayette, Indiana. Went to Purdue in West Lafayette. Foul tip into the glove of Realmuto, and Duvall, a strikeout victim. Whitgren's numbers on the year very impressive. 2.96 in 19 games. He is into this game as part of a double switch with Don Kelly, you just saw, who's at first base. So yes, Kelly is in the 9 spot in the batting order. Whitgren in the 6th spot. Here's Brandon Phillips. He had the big 2-run double in the 4th inning that put the Reds in front 3-2. It's this ball right on the nose, but right at Echeverria. 2 out. Whitgren called up from AAA on the 26th of May, marking the 3rd time he's been up and down with the Marlins this year. Made his big league debut back on April the 19th of this year in a game against the Washington Nationals. Won his first big league game here against the Pirates on June the 2nd. Tries to have a 1-2-3-6. Double switch made, so he figures to be in there for multiple innings. Mike Dunn, 1 inning, 1 strikeout. Dunn right now the pitcher of record. Rojas throws out Barnhart, and for the 2nd consecutive inning the Reds go in order.
T-Mobile. Let's go down on the farm. AAA Scott Schebler began the year with the big club since June 1st. 357 average, 9 home runs, 22 runs driven in. Nick Treviso, AA, former first-round pick, a perfect example of how wins and losses not the greatest stat for a starting pitcher. Last 4 starts, a 1.64 ERA, has allowed only 1 home run in his last 29 innings. And second overall pick, Nick Senzel, getting it done at low A Dayton. And Chris Oakey, other high draft pick for the Reds after a slow start at Billings and then at Dayton. Last 4 games, .313, 2 home runs, 3 runs driven in, down on the farm, boys.
That's good to see right there, particularly out of Nick Travieso, because he, as Jim said, a former first-round pick who appears to have kind of been stagnated for a while, but looks like he's making a good move now at Double-A.
He looked good in spring training, and sometimes, you know, just making that adjustment as you go up the ladder is just not always all that smooth. You know, it takes you a little bit. That's why it takes so long for baseball players to get to the major leagues when you compare players from other sports.
Of course, everybody's eyes are going to continually be on Nick Senzel as he makes his way through the Reds organization.
Having a good start so far in Dayton. I think he's hitting around 375. He seems to be collecting hits nearly in every game. Watched a little bit of video of Nick earlier today, getting on MILB.com, and got a nice swing. I can see why all the scouts are pretty much in agreement that he was one of the best college hitters out there this year. And some of them have said, without a doubt, the best college hitter out there.
And you wonder about him. He started at Billings. He goes to Dayton now. Will he stay? And I guess it all depends on how he performs. Will he stay at Dayton the rest of this year, or if there's an opportunity, will they bump him up to a high A ball this year? To the right side. Votto's going to have to hustle back to the bag. Oh. And they got him. But the runner, Rojas, thinks he was safe. So Don Mattingly will say, hang on just a minute. Phillips fielded that ball cleanly. Votto was way off first base. Brandon had to wait for Votto to get back.
You may have been able to read the lips of Don Mattingly when he came out. He said he's safe. Votto hustles back. Brandon has to wait for him, and yep, even in real time he looks safe. And I think that we're going to see Mike Estabrook overturned again.
Even though Joey was way off the bag at first, there's no way he's going to get to that ball and field it. Replay clearly shows that Rojas was safe, and that'll be overturned.
That's too bad, because that's a routine ground ball that should be the first out of the inning.
No doubt about it.
You know, we've seen Votto have lapses. It's on defense and in base running. I mean, you really ought to be in the habit of every pitch you look around and say, all right, where's everybody playing? How close? He's played next to Brandon Phillips enough to know where Brandon's going to play. And if he's not sure, why not take a glance before the pitch? Very unfortunate.
So Rojas on with an infield single on what should have been, as Chris mentioned, a routine 4-3 putout. Echeverria will be the batter. Don Kelly, who took over at first base, is on deck. Marlins trying to build on a 4-3 lead. We're in the bottom of the 6th. Wrap up of this series, wrap up of the 10-game road trip, closing out of the unofficial first half of the season. The All-Star break that is 4 days starting tomorrow. Phillips will cover as Votto will throw him out. So the sacrifice goes 3-4. Echeverria moves the runner into scoring position. And now Don Kelly, who started the first game of this series at first base, had a hit in that game. Got into the game yesterday as part of a double switch and hit into a double play. Veteran who spent the early part of this year down at AAA New Orleans. He bats for the first time. Straight left-handed hitter. This was called up this past Wednesday from their AAA team in the Pacific Coast League. Was hitting .223 down there for the Zephyrs in 48 games. There's the runner out at second base, Rojas. Two balls and a strike on Kelly. Drafted by the Detroit Tigers years ago, made his big league debut in '07. Most of his big league time has come with the Detroit Tigers. 2 games and 1 at bat with the Marlins last year. Second year in a row in their organization. Wow, that thing absolutely whistled into the crowd down there. And it looked like it ricocheted off the railing back down below. Another one that shoots into the crowd beyond the Marlins dugout. Kelly way out in front of a couple of breaking balls. Josh Smith. If those people weren't into the game, they certainly are now. I think I may have said Kelly was 32. I'll correct myself on that. He is 36. And he is rung up right there. That breaking ball caught the outside corner.
That's really his calling card, that slider that Josh Smith has, and he starts it in a perfect spot. That's one of those pitches that goes from looking like it's going to be a ball to actually being a strike. The idea is the hitter gives up on it, and perfect execution for Smith.
So now Josh is an out away from working around that infield single that started this 6th inning. He gets Real Muto with Buckler right there for strike 1. He's 0 for 3. He's grounded out 3 times. Action now in the Marlins bullpen. Kyle Bearclaw, we saw him pitch in the game yesterday. One and two.
Breaking ball after breaking ball on this at bat by Josh Smith. He's got a couple of different ones. He dropped a slow curveball in there. That last one's more of a slider variety. Young man that was used nearly exclusively as a starter once he got it going in the minor leagues with the Reds. He's found a home here in the Reds bullpen.
Up the middle, that's going to get through. Here comes a runner to the plate. Rojas, who never should have been on in the first place. He scores, and it's a 2-run lead again for the Marlins at 5-3.
That's a real shame right there that Josh Smith gets charged for a run. That ball barely tapped at all, but it goes right back through the box. Smith kind of follows through with his back to home plate and unable to field that ball or knock it down. And the guy that got on with a questionable infield hit ends up scoring, and the Marlins lead by 2.
So here's Martin Prado. He was on ahead of Stanton's line drive home run last inning. Comes up here with a runner aboard, 2 out in inning number 6.
Prado almost has the same grip on the bat that Brian Pena does. And remember when Pena would grab the bat, there'd be a space between his top hand and his bottom hand. Take a close look there if he ever holds his hand slow enough for us to take a look. Pena used to say that would give him much better bat control and take away a little bit from bat speed. Of course, bat speed is important with home runs. Bat control is important for guys that punch the ball all over the ballpark. Don't see that very often.
Yeah, you can see just a little bit of separation there. He has that index finger on the bottom hand kind of sticking up a little bit, kind of like you grip a tennis racket.
Nice tennis reference on the day that Wimbledon's men was decided.
Yes. So there you see that finger that's sticking up. Runner goes. And a stolen base.
I think Brandon was late getting to the bag, and I don't know why. It was a pitch out. He should have been on his way there unless he did not want to leave his position too soon. I mean, that was seemingly a very good throw by Barnhart. He gets it, goes it right over the bag, and Phillips is just late. Boy, the Reds have just had one mental mistake after another today.
Now the runner going to third with no throw.
Yeah, I remember last year when the Reds played their very last game here in Miami, and there were a number of different crazy plays and mental mistakes that the Reds made. The Reds were going to have a meeting after the game because Brian Price was furious with the way things went, including the way his starter Johnny Cueto ended up coming out of the game. And as it turned out, he did not hold a meeting after the game because a lot of the players were on tight flight schedules at the beginning of the All-Star break. They needed to get to the airport. The way they're playing today would be almost a duplicate of last year.
Well, guaranteed that Brian cannot be happy with the things that have happened out on the field here today. Joey's made a number of mental mistakes in the game. That appeared as if Phillips was late getting to second base.
I mean, man, what looks to be pass balls, unable to get bunts down again. And yet you're still in the ball game. You're only 2 runs down.
Walk issued here to Prado. He joins Realmuto on the bases. First and third, 2 out. A run in and a 5-3 Marlins lead. Now time called, and Mac Jenkins, pitching coach of the Reds, emerges from the first base dugout. He makes the walk to the mound. Make sure you make Great American Ballpark your family day destination on Sunday, July the 17th. That's 1 week from today. Thanks to Klosterman Bakery, you can get half-price Reds tickets, enjoy live mascot races, face painters, games, and much more. Plus, kids 14 and younger will get a Reds team baseball card set thanks to Cons. For tickets, 513-381-REDS or visit Reds.com. Josh Smith came on, retired the final batter in the 5th inning. Should have had a 1-2-3 frame here. But instead, the Marlins have them at the corners with 2 out, a run in. The dangerous Christian Yelich, who's 2 for 3 today, at the plate. Reds now have further action in their bullpen. It looks like Ross Ohlendorf is beginning to loosen. We mentioned after the All-Star break, the Reds have a nice long homestand coming up. They'll have Milwaukee in for 3, the Braves in for 3, then the Arizona Diamondbacks in for 3. This Marlins club will head back out onto the road. They just finished a long road trip of 9 games right before they came into town for this series, and they'll go right back out for 7 after the break. They'll start in St. Louis for 3 and then to Philadelphia for 4. Towards center field, Hamilton charging. He's not going to get it. A run will score. Second runner headed to third. It gets by, goes off the screening, and that is out of play. That ball went out of play, bounced back in. Third base umpire Ed Hickox is moving the runner Martin Prado to the plate. 2-run score. It's now 7-3 Miami. That'll go down as a throwing error on Billy Hamilton.
Hamilton gets it, and he realizes there's no play at the plate, but there is one at third base. And the throw goes right in the same line that it from the runner. You see this happen a lot, and that's why all runners from this angle really ought to be going to third base. Goes on the other side of the runner, and as it turns out, it hits something there that must have gone out of play. So you get 2 bases on a throw from the outfielder, and that's why the bases are empty except for the guy that hit that blue pin there. And the Marlins have just begun to blow this baby wide open.
Reds will make a pitching change. Ross Ohlendorf has been throwing in the bullpen. He will become the 3rd Reds pitcher of the afternoon. live on your mobile device with the all-new Fox Sports Go app. Download the app and take Fox Sports Ohio and Reds baseball with you wherever you go. See Don Mattingly coming out and talking with Ben May, and what he wants here, as Dana DeMuth, the crew chief, comes in as well, is that runner sent over to third base. You mentioned 2 bases on a throw from the outfield. He was pointing at first, saying Yelich was at first already, or around first, when the throw was made, and that Yelich should be at third.
Yeah, but is it 2 bases at the time of the throw from the outfield, or is it 2 bases from the time of the pitch?
From where you start.
From where he started would be home plate.
But then Prado had started at first base. I don't know. I think he had a bit of an argument there. But the runner is still at second base, Yelich. Giancarlo Stanton now with the helmet on with the mask against the right-hander Ohlendorf. 2 balls and no strikes. And he was not wearing that when he faces, and doesn't apparently wear it when he faces a right-handed, or rather a left-handed pitcher, but does when he faces a right-handed pitcher. Strike on the check swing. .39th appearance for Ohlendorf. This year's been a watershed year for him in terms of appearances. Most he had ever appeared in a season number of games was 08, when he appeared 30 times. Here he is at the All-Star break, having already surpassed that total. Off the end of the bat toward left. Cozart out. Duvall in. Adam makes the play. Stanton is out. 7 men come to the plate. Marlins add 3. Reds in the first inning get the base hit by Jay Bruce, take a 1-0 lead in this game, but the Marlins come back with a pair in the second. This one was ricocheted off the knee, it looked like, of Barnhart. Allows Echeverria to score. That makes it 2-1 in favor of Miami. Now this double over the head of the left fielder Yelich by Brandon Phillips scores a pair. Bruce and Duvall touch the plate. The Reds lead by a score of 3-2, but this 2-run homer in the bottom of the 5th by Giancarlo Stanton, his 20th of the year, made it 4-3 in favor of the Marlins. They've added 3 in the bottom of the 6th, and our Honda game summary now tells us 7-3 Marlins after 6 here at Marlins Park. Nick Whitgren, who pitched a 1-2-3 6th, back to work here in the 7th inning. Eight Reds have been retired in a row since DeJesus had the base hit in the 4th. The 5th of 5 straight Reds hits in that inning. He scored twice. Had a runner thrown out at the plate, hindered that inning. Echeverria here throws out DeJesus. First out in the 7th. Pitcher spot is due up. Jose Peraza off the bench. He will bat for Ohlendorf. Reds will employ a new pitcher in the bottom of this inning. So Ohlendorf 1/3 of an inning. Josh Smith ends up giving up 3 runs, 2 earned in 1 inning worth of work. That last run scored by Prado due to the throwing error by Hamilton is an unearned run. So here's Peraza. He was penciled into the Reds lineup yesterday, but when Phillips deemed himself ready to play, he was taken out. Brannon was put in. 24 games with the Reds this year at .250. He's 1 for 4 as a pinch hitter. He's been up here now for better part of a month since his last recall from Louisville. What'll be interesting to see is if he is still with this team after the All-Star break. Ryan Price has said of trying to get him enough playing time to warrant keeping him in the big leagues. Lately that has not really been happening.
Well, the Reds really have a couple of different choices when it comes to Jose Peraza. Number one, they can keep him in the big leagues and play him around the way that, say, Joe Madden plays some of his players over in Chicago. Let him start at third base a little bit, let him give Cozart a break, let him start in left field, second base, and so on. Or you can simply do what the Reds said they were going to do at the beginning of the year and play him more at second base. And that has not happened either. Of course, Brandon Phillips has come alive in this series, but there was a time in spring training when the Reds, at least they were talking like the fact that Brandon Phillips decided to decline a trade to the Washington Nationals and maybe one other one. And they said, well, we got this young guy that we want to have playing time for. We're going to make playing time for him, but that has not happened. So the Reds are in a tough spot. There's no question about that, because you can't very well just bench Phillips just because. I mean, he's still a productive player. But at the same time, you do want to see some development in your young players when you're in a rebuilding year. I'm not sure what the answer is.
Cozart bats with 2 out.
By the way, I did look up that rule about why Don Mattingly wanted that runner Yelich to go to third. It's 2 bases from the time of the throw. So they evidently said that Yelich had not reached first base by the time Billy Hamilton had picked the ball up to throw it.
That's going to get out of play. That makes sense. Kivas Sampson is throwing in the Reds bullpen. He will become the 4th pitcher.
Kivas got a.
Oh, pardon me.
That's Raisel Iglesias.
That's Raisel Iglesias.
That's
Fair, fair, and it hit the bag. A fair ball. How about that?
Trained.
Well, at least we know now that that field has no tilt to it at all.
Or at least the line has a little bit of height to it compared to the dirt around it. I mean, this ball just stays on the line. How many times did you see that ball? In fact, it looked like it started to go foul about halfway down and then hit a pebble or a little bump maybe in the line itself. Right there it started going and then came right back and Boy, you take 200 of those.
2-hit day for Zach Cozart. 2 of the 8 hits the Reds have picked up. Here's Billy Hamilton. And he'll shoot one out into right. That's a base hit. Cozart, with the Reds down by 4, stops at second base. So first 2 retired here in the 7th. Next 2 reached via base hit. Now Votto will come up there with an opportunity to get the Reds closer. Reminder to stay with us after the game for Fox Sports Ohio's Reds Live postgame, brought to you by Performance Kings Honda. You get a recap of the game, interviews from the clubhouse, Reds Live postgame afterwards here today. Votto today 0 for 2 with a walk, 1 for 9 in this series, and overall 1 for his last 12. Looking to build on that 42 RBI number. Votto down 2 strikes. Whitgren came in, retired the Reds in order in the 6th, retired the first 2 here in the 7th, but then the fortuitous roll off the ball hit by Cozart. Solid single into right by Hamilton. And an opportunity here, the tying run on deck. That's Jay Bruce. Rookie year for this right-hander Whitgren, so the Reds have not seen him in the past.
Well, a decision pitch right here. Once he gets to a 2-2 count, certainly don't want to go 3-2. Base hit would then, especially with Billy Hamilton, a single would probably score 2. So you're getting a strike here if you're Votto.
And strike 3 called over the outside corner. Votto leaves 2 runners on. Stretch time here in Miami. Reds down 4. We will stay here on this Sunday afternoon, July the 10th, as we do every Sunday, for the singing of God Bless America.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with a light from above, from the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans wide with foam. God bless America, my home sweet home. Yeah, God bless America, my home sweet home.
Let's hear it for Geraldine Martin.
season at Great American Ballpark this coming Saturday, the 16th of July, thanks to PNC Bank. First 25,000 fans will receive a Zach Cozart bobblehead. Make sure you catch all the action when the Reds take on the Brewers for only $12. For tickets, call 513-381-REDS or visit reds.com. New pitcher on for the Reds is Raisel Iglesias, and hasn't he been a breath of fresh air out of that Reds bullpen?
Oh, you're not kidding about that. I would imagine at some point in the year the Reds may think about using him as the closer if the opportunity presents itself. Right now that's being held down by Tony Cingrani, but if you're going to leave by Iglesias in the pen, I mean, he's probably the best pitcher down there, and you've got to figure he's either the 8th or the 9th inning pitcher in a game in which you're winning. Reds are just trying to keep it somewhat close now.
He's giving the Reds length out of the bullpen. On this road trip, he worked 2 1/3 on the July 1st game in Washington. No runs, a hit. And then he did a very nice job against the Cubs in that 9-5 win on July the 5th. He went 3 innings, allowed no runs, 2 hits in that game. That was in relief of Brandon Finnegan.
I mean, the question about Iglesias being able to be stretched out is not a problem. I mean, obviously he can do that, but the other question about whether he can, you know, come back day after day after day in short stints is something you ask of your relievers. We don't know that can happen yet, and you don't know it until you do it.
Well, he started 5 games earlier this year, going 1-1 before an almost 2-month stint on the disabled list, strengthening that right shoulder.
Of course, Raisel lives down here in the off season. He's got a lot of family and friends here that followed him out to Marlins Park today.
Not a good start for him here in the 7th as he walks the leadoff man. And now Ichiro will hit. Ichiro pinch hit yesterday in the game, tapped back to the mound, trying to become the 30th player in Major League history, this 42-year-old, to amass 3,000 Major League hits. So Ozuna draws the walk to start the inning. Ichiro bats here for Whitgren.
Now he's already announced his retirement, has he not?
You know, I don't know that for sure. You may be right.
I do know the Reds fans will get a chance to see him later in August when the Miami Marlins come up to play a 4-game set at Great American Ballpark right in the middle of August, starting with the 15th.
Ichiro hit by the pitch. It may have got him on the knee. So a walk and a hit batsman is how the bottom of the 7th starts. Don Mattingly comes out. Trainer of the Marlins comes out. And Ichiro jogs down to first base. Take a look at that again.
Now a breaking ball by Iglesias starts inside and even goes even more inside. You're right. I think it did clip him right on the knee.
Right on the left kneecap. Wow. So Iglesias now needs to bear down, keep this a 7-3 game. Ichiro been playing in the big league since 2001. Came over from Japan to the Seattle Mariners. He played, of course, but 9 years over in Japan in their professional league over there before coming over to Seattle. Wore the uniform of the Yankees for 3 years, and now these last 2 years here with the Marlins. Hall of Famer to be sure when he retires. A little minor controversy recently about Ichiro, and people added up his hits from Japan and his hits in the United States and said, well, he's the new hit king. But people who I think have a real understanding of baseball and comparing the two leagues said no, Pete's record is the major league hits record, and Ichiro's nowhere near that. Although you have to commend him, he's done a great job starting his big league career at 27.
I really wish that I had gotten to see him play more often live.
Yeah.
He was one of the most exciting ball players that has played baseball in the last decade.
I mean, he burst onto the scene and he had what, 6, 7, 8 200 hit seasons when he first came over to the States. Actually more than that. 12 of them. On a 1-2 pitch, Rojas strikes out. First out here in the bottom of the 7th.
Now you see where all the pitches in this particular at bat have been against Rojas, and he finally chases that breaking ball down and away for strike 3.
So here now is Adeiny Echeverria. A hit today at RBI, a run scored, a sacrifice bunt. So he's had a busy day, and plus he's made some nice plays at the shortstop spot. In the air to shallow right, Bruce and Phillips is there to make the play. Echeverria retired. So the first 2 reach, the next 2 set down. The batter will be Don Kelly. Reds today, before Iglesias, have used Reed, Smith, and Ohlendorf. Marlins have used their starter, Tom Kohler, then Mike Dunn, and Nick Whitgren for 2 innings. And they'll have a new pitcher come the 8th inning. They have used both Fernando Rodney and A.J. Ramos in each of the first 2 games of this series. Kelly grounds out to third. That puts an end to the bottom of the 7th. Bryce Harper, Mike Trout, Adam Dunn, and now Jay Bruce, all part of baseball's superstars coming together for the primetime event that certainly will light up the summer. That is the MLB All-Star Game from San Diego this coming Tuesday, 7:30 Eastern. Coverage only on Fox. We look forward to the stars of this great game getting together, playing out there at Petco Park. Home Run Derby tomorrow, All-Star Game Tuesday. Resumption of regular season play on Friday. I think I said Adam Dunn. I certainly meant Adam Duvall. Well, Adam Dunn hit some big balls for the Reds as well. New pitcher on for the Marlins. This is Kyle Bearclaw. He pitched in yesterday's game, and he's back out there here today. Bruce, first pitch swinging, and on the run in center. Ozuna makes the catch. First out of inning number 8. Here is Duvall. Adam today a hit, 1 out of 3. Reds had a lead when they picked up 2 in the top of the 4th inning on a 2-run double by Phillips. They led 3-2. That lead disappeared on the 2-run homer in the bottom of the 5th by Giancarlo Stanton. And the Marlins added to that lead with 3 in the 6th inning. Here the Reds are batting now in the 8th. Stanton's 20th home run of the year, 201st of his Marlins career, franchise record. Now in a 1-2 breaking ball, Bearclaw gets Duvall on strikes. Take a look at our Miller Time moment of the game. Actually, in the series, this is Phillips yesterday against Conley with an RBI single into right field that scored Bruce. And then today, a base hit. Actually, yesterday he had a pair of hits. Today, this ball off the wall in left center field produced 2 RBIs for the Reds. So Phillips has had a nice series. 1 for 3 today, 4 for 9 with 3 runs batted in this series thus far. And he'll be able to take care of that broken left hand that was injured in the game here on Friday over the All-Star break.
Bearclaw is one of those pitchers that comes under the category of being effectively wild. He walks a lot of batters. He did so last year. When he got called up, he came right out of Double-A, but he had a very good earned run average, but was kind of all over the place. But his stuff is good enough that it gets your attention. This year he's walked 25 in 35 innings. But he has struck out 59. So that's the kind of arm that you stick with, and you hope that he figures out command. Right there atop the leaderboard and most strikeouts in the National League in relief.
Stanton plays this ball, and the Reds go in order here in the top of the 8th. Baseball on Fox Sports Ohio has been brought to you by Kroger. Stop by your neighborhood Kroger to save big store-wide. Great food, low prices at Kroger. And by Toyota. For over 30 offers, visit buyatoyota.com. Toyota, let's go places.
Now you were out here the other day, were you not, Jim Kelch?
Actually, no, I was not, but a lot of our TV crew were out there. I know Gary Wayhoff, traveling secretary of the Reds, and his boys were out there viewing gators. Said they came right up to the airboat.
Maybe they just wanted to be petted.
I asked Gary's youngest son if he had reached out and petted a gator. He looked at me like I had two heads.
We had both hands, so the answer to that was no. Yeah, Gary had his boys down here by himself and giving Christina a little bit of time off. That would be hard to explain upon coming back home.
Yeah, that would be hard to explain, that's for sure. Max and Elliott were down here with Gary, and they were all over the place having a good time with Dad. Bottom of the 8th inning, top of the order, JT Realmuto. Back to work goes Raisel Iglesias, his second inning on the hill today. In the game, 1 for 4. In the series, 3 hits, 11 ABs for Realmuto. It'll be interesting to see what this Marlins team does in the second half as Realmuto strikes out, because we had talked about they did make a move to improve, which is a pretty good bullpen with the acquisition of Fernando Rodney, and you have to like their everyday 8 for the most part, but the starting pitching appears to be a little bit of chink in their armor. See if they are able to improve that.
The problem with the Marlins right now, by the need of starting pitching, there are a lot of other ball clubs who are looking for the same thing. And there are just a few pitchers that are really rumored to be out there and available. Of course, the New York Mets might be out there looking after they've had some injuries at their starting pitchers. It's rumored there are a lot of other ball clubs that could use a pitcher or two.
Certainly the Mets fall into that category. This team, the Marlins, fall into that category. Pirates have been wearing out that highway from Indianapolis to Pittsburgh. A lot of their young arms have come up, gone back, come up, gone back. Prado today 1 for 2 with a pair of walks.
Yeah, what they're really looking for in Miami is somebody to go along with that young man, the 23-year-old phenom, Jose Fernandez. He just may be the starter in the All-Star game.
It's very possible, yeah.
Talk about that. Of course, the other guy under consideration, the other pitcher under consideration is Johnny Cueto.
Cueto's normal day would come up tomorrow. Fernandez threw here on Friday. Either way, they both figured to pitch in the game. Marlins 4 representatives on the All-Star team. The Reds 2. And one everyday player, Marcell Ozuna, who now will start in center due to injury. Fernando Rodney, whose numbers were put up primarily with the Padres. Their closer, A.J. Ramos and Jose Fernandez. The Reds had Adam Duvall initially and then added yesterday Jay Bruce as an injury replacement All-Star. Third appearance for him. And that's ball 4. So Prado walked for the 3rd time today. He is on with 1 out. Here's Christian Yelich. Three hits today, all singles, plus an RBI. Reds down 7-3, have been out hit 10-9. And we're in the bottom of the 8th inning. Down the right field line, Jay will chase it, but it's a long foul. I mentioned that this ballpark opened in 2012. Make reference to that because the last time the Reds were swept in a 3-game series in Miami was back at the old ballpark. I'm not sure what name it went by then. It went by so many names over its baseball existence, but back in 1995 is the last time the Reds were swept in a 3-game series down here in Miami. August 11 through the 13th of 1995. World Series championships down here. The Marlins swept the Reds in Cincinnati in May of 2013. They won in '97, only their 5th year of existence. Won again in '03, but were the wild card team in both of those instances. And in both of those instances, remember, there were not 2 wild cards back in those days, but 1. We're talking about the different names of the old ballpark. Pro player Joe Robbie, Dolphin Stadium, Land Shark Stadium, Sun Life. How about that? Yeah, that thing had more names than a spy, didn't it?
And don't expect this one to stay Marlins Park forever.
Yeah.
I mean, if there's a sponsor coming along that is willing to ante up, I'm pretty confident the Marlins will figure out a way to change it from Marlins Park to you fill in the blank. Well, what a spot right there for Iglesias. Iglesias shaking off a couple of times even before he gets onto the rubber.
This is the first head-to-head battle between these two, Iglesias and Stanton. Reds in their 9th inning will have Barnhart, DeJesus, and a pinch hitter for Iglesias. Stanton, a 2-run homer back in the 5th, his 20th of the year. Gave the Marlins a lead at 4-3. Now leads 7-3, batting here in the bottom of the 8th. From 0-2 now to 2-2. We were talking about the old ballpark over there where the Dolphins play. What did you think of baseball in that stadium?
I thought it was a very good stadium to play baseball in, with the exception of batting practice being rained out regularly because it was so close to the Everglades. They had afternoon showers every summer.
That's strike 3 call to Stanton, so 3 strikeouts in the inning for Iglesias, and we head to the 9th here in Miami. Game with Reds Live pregame here on Fox Sports Ohio, presented by Ray St. Clair Roofing. A respite from baseball for the next 4 days, and then the Reds will be back in action beginning Friday night at home against the Milwaukee Brewers. It's what the rotation will look like in the Brewers series. DeSclafani, Lamb, who started yesterday, then Straley as Brian Price shakes things up a little bit to break up 3 lefties in a row. And then in the Atlanta series, that'll begin with Finnegan, then Cody Reed, and then back to DeSclafani. New pitcher on for the Marlins to work the 9th inning is Dustin McGowan.
He's 34 years old, McGowan is. He's been around a while, and most of that while he spent up there with the Toronto Blue Jays. And a first pitch out right there in the 9th inning.
Reds have not made much noise offensively at all since they had the 5 consecutive hits and scored twice in the 4th inning to go up 3-2. Gone down in order in the 5th, the 6th, the 8th. First 2 in the 7th, then had a couple of base hits. Votto took a called third strike. Now DeJesus bats with 1 out in the 9th. Cabrera on deck to bat for the pitcher, Iglesias. And that runs the count full now to DeJesus, getting the start at third base today in place of Eugenio Suarez. Echeverria throws out DeJesus. The last chance for the Reds in this game will be the pinch hitter Ramon Cabrera, who will bat for Iglesias. Rysell went 2, allowed no runs, no hits, did walk a pair, struck out 4. Another good outing by Iglesias. So here's Cabrera hitting .271 overall with 6 runs batted in. 1 for 6 as a pinch hitter. He had a pair of hits yesterday, 2 for 3. Been a pleasant offensive surprise for the Reds, even though when he came up last year late in the season, from an offensive standpoint, he did a nice job. A win here today would put the Marlins at 47-41, 6 games over 500. That would equal their high water mark of the year. A loss by the Reds would put them 25 games under. That would be their low point of the season. It'd be the second worst record at the All-Star break they've had since 1900. Echeverria. And the Marlins sweep the series. The final score on this final Sunday before the All-Star break. The Marlins win it over the Reds by the score of 7-3. We'll come back with more after this.